Hello everyone and welcome back. Let's see how we can build something like this. Cake pan with anisotropic reflections. We will model it UV and shade it procedurally in Karma. So let's get started by going to Solaris. Let's drop a soft create. To enable this panel, and let's start by dropping a circle, and we want it in the ZX plane, and reverse it and give it 64 subdivisions. Now we want to extrude it. Oops. Extrude. And I'm gonna inset it by 6, something like this. And we wanna keep the front group. And let's extrude it again. And we will extrude the front group. Now we want something like this. And also inset it a little bit. Alright, now we want to extrude the outside, so let's group the unshared edges. Let's say edges, and let's see our normals. We can add point normals, so point normals. Now we want to create that typical tapering effect. So we will blend between these normals and another set of normals. So let's go with the horizontal on curve. And let's say this will be N. So we have this sort of normals, let's call it N2. And now we can blend them, so attribute combine. And we will have the destination to be normal, and we want to blend it with N2. And we don't want to add, we want to copy. So now the amount will be something like this. Something like this, and let's extrude it. And we want to extrude the unshared. And let's say point normal existing, and let's copy this extrude and paste it in here. So it's not this one. Which one it is? Yes, it's this one. Now it's giving a different height, so let's try something. Let's set it to add. This way we can keep the same height. So now let's add a normal. And now we want to UV this object in two different ways. One along the cylinder in a cylindrical way, and another one in a orthographic view in the y-axis. So let's split by normal. Let's split primitives by normal. And let's say y. And now we will create two nodes. So in here we have the cylindrical parts, and here the Y projection. So let's go with a UV texture. And let's see the UVs. We are on the Z axis. I probably want to flip it and move it up again. So this way we have it on the 0 to 1 range. And in here we'll create a range to create the seams. So let's go for points, and we want to select 2, 1. Select first, want to copy this and select 1 out of 64, so something like this. Then promote it. You want to promote it to edges, and group 1, and only elements in the boundary. And now we can create the UV flatten. And we want to select the seams, so group 1. So this gives us something like this. So if we ratify everything and we disable manual layout, we will end with the correct UVs. So now we can merge it. We'll probably need to work a bit more on the UVs, since we're going to extrude and give it some thickness. That will create some problems. So let's for now group these and call it sides group. Now we want to fuse it. And let's extrude it. And I'm going to extrude it by about, I'm going to extrude it by about 0.044. So something like this. And I want to output back. So let's see how this is looking. Overlapping UVs, that's fine for now. Now if we bevel this, and let's ignore flat edges. Let's increase a bit. Let's give it 3 subdivisions. And let's see. As you can see, it's creating some problems in here. Let's see also. It's also created in the poly extrude, so we need to split here. So we will split after the poly extrude. So split and split it by sides group. And now we can just merge it and create a node. Let's see the UVs in here. As you can see, this is the problematic part. So what we can do is just copy this node, the UV texture, and paste it in here. So now it should be working fine. And let's merge it. And now we can fuse it again. And let's poly bevel. Let's see. That is correct, creating the correct topology. The correct UVs, I mean. Let's see, 0.02. Maybe not so much. And let's also subdivide it, otherwise it will create issues on the, it will create some faceting in the rendering of anisotropy reflections. So let's subdivide it maybe by 2. That won't create any issues. And now UVs, that's fine. And let's create just an attribute so we can use in shading. So let's say in the sides group, say we create a float attribute, float sides. Let's see, yeah, this should do it. And let's also soften the normals. Soften normals. This is always a good practice to have the proper normals. And that's our modeling done. So now we will go through the shading part. So let's pass the camera and focus it. Let's just create some nodes, material library for the material. And let's create a carbon material, metal pen, light. And let's assign it. Oops. Let's assign it to everything. Create a dome light, and I'm gonna load, I believe it's this one, set it to light long, and create a Karma render settings, change it to XPU, and that should be good. Let's save it, and now let's go and see the rendering. Maybe I want to change the direction of the light, so let's go something like this. And I also want to disable the environment lights and set it to dark, and also set it to viewport size. So this should be good. Now let's go through the material creation. So so let's see how we'll do this. Let's create an unlit and connect it to our surface so we can focus on the texturing. The first thing we need to do is to create a spiral ramp for these two parts, for the rounded parts, or not rounded, but these flat parts that will have that typical anisotropy look. And then for this one we can just play with the anisotropy rotation. So to create that spiral ramp is we don't have a preset, so we will need to create our own. So let's start by creating a texture coordinates node, and the form, I will just do the formula, and we will need to subtract. You can find these if you're looking to create this sort of effects. You can search for Blender procedural texturing, and you will have a lot of these sorted out for you, and you just need to recreate it in Material X. So rotate, that's what I usually do. We can keep here a rotate, and we will need a distance and set it to 0.5, so it creates from the center. And now we have the UVs. Let's separate them, separate two, just like a vector to float. Then we will need an A10 too, and connect it. Oops. And finally a remap, and we'll remap it to 0 to 1, but between minus $pi and $pi. And now we just need to combine it, combine two. This will be this one, and in here this one. So let's check the result. As you can see, we have the UVs. In that spiral manner that we wanted. And we also have this one just in here that will act as our specular rotation, and this one will be used to map our noise to create the bump effect. So let's start to put this together. Let's first create our specular rotation. So we will need a geometry property value with the sides, if you remember. We have the sides. So let's mix, and we will mix. The mix factor will be the attributes, and we will mix these in the background, and let's check. And we want some sort of rotation. Let's go something like this. So this is will be our specular rotation. So let's now use our material and connect this to specular rotation. We'll increase the metalness, the roughness, and the anisotropy. So if we have a look, now we have the desired results. You can see the typical anisotropy reflections. You can increase or decrease the effect. And in here the anisotropy is going this way. Like, let's imagine the grooves, the bump map goes along the surface, and the reflection is something like this, in that direction. So, and of course we can control the rotation in here. In my case, I found that a value of 0.2 was the correct result. And let's continue on. Let's now create the bump effect. So for the sides it's pretty easy. We can just create a unified noise 2D, and let's connect it to our unlit. Oops. Yeah. Now we just need to repeat it. So say 10 by 10. We can leave it to purling. And let's say 10 by 600. And we get this sort of effect. You still can see some seams, but it won't be noticeable in the when the effect is fully working. So obviously these grooves are incorrect. We need them in a circular manner. That's why we created this sort of ramp. Oops. This one. I can't connect it for some reason. So that's why we created this ramp, so we can feed it to a unified noise. So let's create another one. Let's connect the texture coordinates, and let's see. So obviously this part is incorrect, as you can see in the circular parts. It's working pretty well. Let's maybe decrease it, so 6 by 400, okay, 100, let's say 400. And now we can just combine both. So where is our attribute? So with the mix, We can combine, so we have the sides, and we can combine, so the sides will be the flat one, and this one in here is the background. And now we can check the result. So now everything should be working properly. So now what can we do to help a bit to give a better result to our anisotropy effect is to connect a bump map. So we can create a bump, material X bump, connect it to the height, and connect this to the normal. And now it will be too intense, so let's decrease it substantially. 0.001. Even that is a bit too much, so 0.005. Let's maybe leave it 0.01. Now we can even introduce some denoiser and maybe give it some more samples. Let me check how much I used for a bump. So maybe a bit more. 0.15. And you can always come back in here and rotate it. So something like this. And let's go to this one. Where is our rotation in here? And that's how it's looking, our brushed metal. But maybe we can add an extra roughness to help sell out the look a bit more. So what can we do? Let's create a triplanar, Carmack style triplanar. Let me load a dirt texture so I can show you how it looks. So let's go to emission and surface. So we have this sort of texture, and now let's separate it. And now let's do like the Blender folks do with the mix node, and we will mix, we will connect it to our specular roughness. Let's see. Obviously it's looking horrible, but we can just say between 0.25 and 0.45. Let's see how that looks. And as you can see, that's dirt map really helps to give some more life to it. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to share today. I hope you have learned something new, and I'm not saying this is the correct way to do things by any means, but is the way I found out it worked more or less okay. Okay guys, thank you and see you next time.